It's a huge misconception when people tell you, I'm weak because I'm old. No, you're not weak because you're old. The thing is, after the age of 40, we develop something called sarcopenia, which is a fancy word for loss of muscle. And by the way, there's a lot of data that regular exercise is a perfect antidote to symptoms of menopause. The problem with sarcopenia is it leads us to lose also bone mass, and it does not allow us to be strong enough to do things like getting up from the floor, and it makes us more prone to falling. There's data that says that your ability to stand in one foot for more than 15 seconds correlates directly with how long you're going to live.
The slow driver that I was irritated with was potentially the one who saved my life. Then a doctor at the boathouse helped me pull myself together enough to have an enjoyable row that same morning. Greetings and welcome to the Elevated Flo Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Flo, the Black Rowing Queen. The Elevated Flo Podcast spotlights elite and everyday female athletes of color, mostly over 40, sharing how they elevate their game and their flow in sports, wellness, work, and life. These are powerful stories of strength, resilience, wisdom, and inspiration to help women stay active, age strong, and pass the torch to the next generation. Today's guest is someone I share the water with and recently won a bronze medal with in a regatta in Oklahoma City last month. I'm excited for you to meet her. Please help me welcome Dr. Maria Juarez. She is the medical director of the Charles A. Sammons Cancer Center in Waxahachie and Duncanville. She is board certified in internal medicine and medical oncology. Her path to Texas crossed an ocean. She graduated from the University of Navarra Medical School in Pamplona. Spain. She completed her internal medicine residency at the VA Medical Center in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and her hematology and oncology fellowship at the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio. She is a fellow of the American College of Physicians and holds an MBA from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. In 2016, the American Society of Hematology recognized her as a Choosing Wisely champion for her work improving the quality of patient care. She is the proud mother of 2 adult children, and she is now leading 2 cancer centers. You can find her on the water rowing, speed walking, or out on a walk with her dogs. Please help me welcome Dr. Maria Juarez to the Elevated Flo Podcast. Woohoo!
Thank you so much for having me. Very well. Well,
awesome.
Spain won the World Cup, so I am elated.
Awesome. I know that we've been trying to get together, and because of that, it pushed us back some, but congratulations for the win.
You.
And thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So let's go back to the young woman in Spain who decided to become a doctor. You said your training took you from Pamplona to San Juan to San Antonio. At what point did you realize that being a doctor is something that you really, really wanted and was determined to pursue?
Well, I think I was 14, actually, and I had always been interested in nearly everything. I mean, I really love to read. I'm always trying to do something new. I was between law and medicine, but I figured that you can always read law. You can always read economics. You cannot read in medicine. I mean, you have to read, but it is an art and it's a science. The science you can acquire very easily with a lot of work, but definitely it's not so difficult. But the art of medicine is something that has to be transmitted. And that is something that I've tried to do with my students and residents when they rotate with me. For a while, I used to have students from UT Southwestern rotate with me. Then I had residents also rotate with me, usually family practice or surgery residents. And lately, I've had multiple students, college students that are interested in medicine and like to come and see how real life for a physician is. And it's not how it looks in-house. It is actually fairly close to the pit if you take the intensity down a notch.
Okay. Something that you mentioned that I've never heard of, I've never heard it described that way. You said that medicine is an art. Now, I've always heard that it's a practice. What makes you call it an art?
The way I see art is something that is not tangible and something that creates a mood and changes people.
Okay.
And medicine has a very strong component of science, but it also has a component of personal creativity. And I don't mean it on a way that you have to be telling people things that aren't true or anything like that. It is that you have to learn to communicate to your patients concepts that are extraordinarily abstract in a way that translates into their personal particular spot in life.
Okay. So the communication part of it is what is the art.
Yes.
Okay.
The communication, it is. And there's a lot of things that you translate from your personal experience and you extrapolate to real life.
Okay. So you went from Pamplona to San Juan to San Antonio. What did each of those stops teach you? And I'm going to add on to that question, being that you are now practicing in a country you were not born in, was there, when talking about communication, was there a transition, or was that part of you coming to those different places develop those communication skills in English?
Well, I think most of the cultural shock that I had was when I moved from Spain into the Caribbean. There is a complete difference, even when you speak the same language, because in Puerto Rico, you practice medicine in Spanish, but you write everything in English. So all the records are in English, but you're communicating in Spanish, which teaches you a lot of fluency because you can immediately translate from one language into the other. But even though they have a lot of cultural things that are very similar to us, for me, it was very, very different to what I was used to. I am an urban girl. I grew up by the Mediterranean Sea, and I moved to a small town in the mountains in Puerto Rico. And from there, I moved to San Juan to do my residency. And they are wonderful people. They're extraordinarily welcoming, but everything is in a different pace. And even the language, sometimes certain expressions I couldn't use that we use in Spain, we couldn't use in Puerto Rico because they're not for public consumption. At first, I couldn't understand the accent, so I had to get used to it. And that was kind of more of in the heat. I don't do well in heat. And yes, I do live in Texas, but anybody who lives in Texas is so used to air conditioned that my sisters, when they come to visit, usually bring jackets. So the only time
no
I'm
matter the
exposed
time
to
of year, huh?
Exactly. So that was more of my personal shock. When I moved from Puerto Rico to San Antonio, in a way, it felt like going back to an urban environment, the type of life I was
Interesting.
more used to.
Okay. What was the hardest part of maybe proving yourself in American medicine as a foreigner?
Well, everybody's extraordinarily welcoming, but at a certain point, you don't have the background network that other people have. You don't have the same points of reference. And in a way, you will be considered equal, but you have to be better. You have to be, I kind of say it sometimes, is you have to be twice as good to be considered equal, and you will, which is something that actually in other countries you would never get. I mean, there are other places in which you would never get to be one of the gang and involved on everything and discussing things and guiding. The opportunity that the the US gives of reinventing yourself, of creating something different, of being you and growing is not something that you get very easily anywhere else.
Hmm.
But you have to work completely. I mean, every day, all days, and work extraordinarily hard. Nothing is given, which, I mean, we should know. I mean, any
Right, right,
woman
right.
knows that. I remember once one of my referring physicians called and said, "Oh, Maria, you have to see this poor guy. He is having such a hard time. Please, please, please get him in." So I was like, "Oh, sure, no problem. What happened to him?" And he says, "Well, his mother his wife died and he has the two kids and he has to get up in the morning and get everything ready, get the kids ready, prepare breakfast, make sure that the kids have everything, take the kids to school, and then he goes to work full time and he has to go home and take care of those kids, pick them up and make sure that everything is done." I mean, any woman listening is thinking, and what else is new?
Right.
But for this poor guy, it seemed to be the most amazing achievement in the world. It's like, okay.
So speaking of which, okay, so you said you felt like you had to be twice as good as a foreigner, but how would you say, or what would you say was the difference that you experienced as being a woman? Do you feel like you had to, like, maybe three times as hard? I mean, three times as good, or do you feel like doors were harder to open for you than people that you worked beside that maybe were men that were foreigners?
That's a very good question. I don't know. I mean, I honestly didn't separate the being a woman from being from another country.
Mm-hmm. You can't.
I possibly
Right.
could, but it would be so different and so difficult to quantify what is what that
Right.
I don't know. I mean, as any woman, especially any woman in a position of leadership, we all know that speech, the Barbie movie is completely right. I mean, we have to be assertive, but if we are assertive, then we are supposed to be too assertive. And you have to be well put together, but not look like you try. And you have to be everything and nothing at the same time. And if
Right.
you make your point very clearly, you'll be told, "Oh, well, you're too direct."
Mm-hmm.
If I was a man, they wouldn't tell me that.
Right.
But I mean, I don't see that that's something that, I mean, we have power. I mean, we have so much capacity to distribute. We live longer than men. We have connections. We're perfectly able to live by ourselves in general. That in a way, I don't know, men have to compensate somehow.
Yeah.
I talk to people and they're like, "Oh, well, he never remembers to do this, that, or the other." It's like, man, he's 77. If he doesn't remember it by now, he's not going to remember it ever. But we go in and we compensate. But at the end of the day, those networks and that extra work that we put in gives us a power that sometimes we don't recognize.
I like that. I like that. Well, why oncology? Was there something that pulled you towards, cancer care?
Well, initially, I wanted to be a dermatologist, and I had this plan that I was going to finish internal medicine and then apply for a dermatology residency once I was board certified in internal medicine. But my first rotation at the VA was in the hematology oncology ward, and I just fell in love. I mean, oncology patients are incredible. They teach me every day. They're fun. They're wonderful. They're poignant. They're family in a way. I mean, I have patients that I've been following since 1998, which I would love to say was 10 years ago, but we all know that it wasn't.
Right. Was there a patient? You said you follow a lot of them. Was there a patient or a moment early on that working with them, you just felt like, yeah, this is where I want to be, need to be, and don't have a regret for not pursuing dermatology?
I don't think it's a single patient. It's a lot more. I mean, it's exhausting because you give so much every day of yourself. But on the other hand, I've had so many family members tell me, "Thank you so much for taking care of so and so." And she felt a little bit better every time she came to see you. She felt stronger. And
Good.
the opportunity to help people and these days, nearly 70% of cancers can either be cured or changed into kind of a chronic disease. But it is very empowering and it's very fulfilling. So no, I don't regret having done that, except when patients come and they have a little zit and they want me to open it. And it's like, me, I could have. I still like that. But no,
Okay.
I don't. I could
Okay.
have a day off if I could row that day.
Well, that's good that it's fulfilling. That's really good because I believe that's really important, especially with just being a doctor could be very stressful. What?
Oh, it is.
Say that again?
It totally is.
Right. So what part of your job would you say maybe is the most stressful, and how do you deal with that?
Paperwork.
Hmm.
I walk into the office every morning. Today, when I left, I had 5 messages left. When I come back tomorrow morning, I'll probably have about 150 messages. Yeah.
Like voicemail messages or emails?
No, we're talking about laboratories, patient messages asking about things, reports of x-rays and pathology and all sorts of things, messages from another physicians about patients. My personal record was 275 messages on one day.
Oh, wow.
And the thing is, you come in and you have those messages and all those things to do, but you also have 20 patients to see.
Right.
And whenever I order, say, laboratories, if I order 3 laboratories, I'm going to get a preliminary report and a final report on every single one of those 6 laboratories. And I'll have to make a decision on each of them.
Wow. And that's just one person, huh?
Yes. And yes, I do have MAs and I have nurses. And that's one of the reasons, for instance, people is like, are you going to call me? It's like, honey, if I call you, things are really, really bad. My nurse will call you.
Okay.
But I only call people who really have bad news and need to talk because I can't. I don't have time in a day.
So how do you balance working or leading 2 different facilities? So Waxahachie and Duncanville?
Okay, in the time we have been taping, I think I've had 3 calls come in. Everybody calls. I get messages through the computer saying, hey, do this, do that, do the other. And lots of emails from the system. One of the things that Cobby helped a lot with is we do a lot of things by Zoom. So now I don't have to drive for an hour and a half to go to Waco to a meeting because we're going to have a Zoom meeting. So I'm in a lot of committees, and very often I'm in the committee as I drive home in the evening, or I am having dinner and talking at the same time.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, well, you know what that leads me to? Even though I already said it in the opening, how we met, we rode together at Dallas United Crew. But I also wanted to talk about, I was trying to think about what made me feel comfortable coming to you, aside from just me feeling comfortable. I led with the story that the person that was speeding on the freeway that I was irritated by was driving in front of me. I was on my way to the boathouse. It was about 5:15, 5:20 in the morning. I was going to be on time, but there was construction on the side road. And then there was construction, which is always construction in Dallas on the freaking freeway, which I'm like, are they ever going to finish anything? But anyway, I heard people say, no, they're not. But anyway.
I have seen the construction since I moved to Dallas in 1998.
That is insane. It really is. But anyway, so I was, talking about this driver, and this woman was driving really, really slowly in front of me. And I was getting a little irritated. And then I had to tell myself, Flo, just calm down. You're going to be on time. Just, like I said, early in the morning. And she wasn't even going the speed limit. So we get ready to get on the freeway. And because there were cones there, because of the construction, I wasn't able to, get over and pass her by. But as we're getting on the freeway, because she was going so slowly, this car sped by us so fast. And I was like, oh my God, that's why I said in the opening that I felt like she potentially saved my life. Because if I would have gotten over at the speed that car was going, there's no telling if I would have survived that if that car hit me. So we're, getting on the freeway. This car slams against the left side of the median and then does a turn and then slams against the right side and stops. And I am shaking. I'm freaking out. And I was just like, oh my God, oh my God. And then I pull up next to the lady and I'm like, thank you, thank you. You know, I was like, I was crying. I was just like, oh my God. I was rubbing my arm, like, Flo, calm down, take a breath, you know, doing breathing exercises and everything. And I was just like, oh my God, I need touch. I need somebody to hold me. And so I get to the boathouse, and even on my way to the boathouse, I was thinking, who's going to be there that I feel comfortable just like hugging and, you know, helping me to regulate my nervous system. And so I saw you, and I was at the water dispenser. And I was like, I just need a hug. And you hugged me and you held me, and I told you what was happening. And, you know, I was crying and everything. And I was just like, but it was just like, so with that like really, I felt like that, aside from that, something happened prior to that to make me feel comfortable to do that. But to me, that felt like it really like solidified our connection. And at a moment where it was just like, oh my goodness, you need somebody, you need, I needed that touch. And so what you ended up explaining to me is like, and I don't even know if I knew you were a doctor at that point. It was,
I don't
we had
say it.
connected. Say that again.
I don't usually go around saying, oh, I'm a doctor.
No, but I think even when I knew or something, somebody had said something about it. But anyway, it was not that. And when I told you, oh, I needed my nervous system regulated, and then you shared your story about what happened. So you had your own traumatic experience on the water rowing. You mind sharing about that? And I mean, it was so powerful to me because you knew exactly what it was that I needed and was experiencing. And so I was, just thankful that you were there to support me in that.
Well, I think when we go through a traumatic experience on the water, out of the water, at work, we do it a lot. You have to, we call it debriefing. And it is, you need to have someone who listens and doesn't try to minimize what you experienced, doesn't try to say, oh, well, you were so lucky, whatever. It just listens and
Right.
lets you formulate what's happened into the fabric of your own life. And we had a very disturbing experience at the regatta a year ago in which one of the participants experienced a cardiac event right after he finished. And a lot of our group and a lot of other participants from other teams rushed in to help. And unfortunately, he didn't make it. And it was hard because you're going to a place where you are trying to be your very best to be healthy. It was clear that he was a very healthy person, from his body type and the time he had done in that regatta. And in a way, it reminds you that life is short and precious, and we have to enjoy every single minute, and that there's always someone around that you can connect with. And
Right.
that's one thing we tried to do after that episode is several people went to have lunch together. We, of course, didn't race. They closed everything. We had some prayers for the person. And we just talked about how we had felt and what had happened, whether we thought we should have done something different. The answer is it was impossible, but I think everything we did was completely by the book. But you always ask that kind of question, and you always ask the what ifs, and having someone to listen and not try to minimize your experience, but just listen and say, yep, it happened. You did everything you could. There was nothing you could have done to avoid that poor guy smashing himself in the highway. And yes, you were extraordinarily lucky that this other lady was scared that something like that
Right.
could happen and didn't let you in to get smashed.
Yeah. I have this card in my windshield. And this is one of the things that I say to myself almost every day, multiple times a day. And that is, things are always working out for me. And
Mm-hmm.
it's in my windshield, so it reflects onto the windshield. Because if you look at it, it's backwards. So when you sit it in the window, it's reflected on the windshield. And that's something that I said to myself that day, and something that I truly believe. It's like, things are always working out for me. And that's the thing, is we don't always know why, how, when things happen the way they happen. But I truly believe that, things are always working out for me. Now, being that you probably experienced not just that particular traumatic experience, but other situations, even with comforting me, do you have, or how do you regulate your nervous system when you experience something like that?
And actually, the same way. I have 3 partners at work, and whenever one of us has something, we'll just go and vent. And we all listen to each other. And it is not, it's not a judgmental, it's a yes, you did right. No, you couldn't control it. Or sometimes it's, girl, snap out of it. You're spending too much mental energy on it. You really, control, you are trying to control. That's one thing that is, sometimes we try to control the uncontrollable.
Right.
And that is something that rowing helps me a lot with, because you know that when something happens and the wind picks up, the worst thing you can do is tense up.
Right.
And
Right.
you have to say, breathe deeply, get straight, and open your oars as wide as they'll go, and then try to become one with the water and not fight it.
Right.
And sometimes I think we try to make things more complicated, or we try to control things, or think magically. And well, if I did this and the other, then why am I doing this is happening? Well, things happen. I mean, you adapt to them, you incorporate them into your life, and you learn from them and you grow from them.
Right.
There are many lessons in life that I wish I would not have had to learn the way I learned them, but I wouldn't go back and unlearn them. I don't know. That's
You said that when you go on the water, you don't take your cell phone. What is it that you experience? Do you think about the fact that you might be getting a call, or what is it that's on your
nope.
mind when you're on the
If I'm on the
water?
water, I'm on the water. Everybody knows that with it between 5:45 and 7:30, I'm not reachable. I mean, that
That's
is my
good.
happy place. I
I love that.
It's actually, the funny thing is, the CMO has used, I mean, I go with places and people are like, "Are you still rowing?" And I was like, "How did you know I row?" Yeah, Glenn told us. So now I am kind of the example for other physicians. See, we have a physician that will not go anywhere. If it interferes with her rowing, she doesn't do it. I'll
Wow.
occasionally change, especially if the weather is bad and there's lots of wind. I may not.
Right. It's like, rowing
Yeah,
is canceled.
I'm a
Okay, I
fair
can't.
weather I'm a fair weather rower, but in general, that is non-negotiable. I mean, it keeps me centered, it keeps me steady, it gives me peace. And I cannot give others peace. I cannot direct others if I am not centered myself. So that
Absolutely.
time is sacred in a way.
That's good.
There is only very few people will make me miss that. And we're usually related by blood or friendship.
I like to say you can't pour from a empty cup. So it's
Exactly.
like you have to regulate yourself, you have to be
Hmm.
full, you have to, it's like putting that mask on yourself first before you have
Exactly.
somebody else on the airplane. So we're talking about
Exactly.
all of this rowing stuff, but I never asked you, what's your rowing story? How did you first start getting into rowing?
Well, I had seen for years rowers in the river in Boston, actually. I grew up by the
Mm,
sea. I was more into swimming and sailing, actually, than rowing per se. Coastal rowing was not a thing in those days.
Mm.
But when my daughter went to school in Boston, I did my MBA in Massachusetts. And when you row there, you see the Charles River and you see rowers. And I
Mm.
kept thinking, this is so cool. I think I would like this. But anyway, life interferes, your kids are there, etc. And then the pandemic hit. And at that time, I was doing personal training in the mornings at 6 in the morning before going to work. But of course, they shut everything down and you couldn't do it anymore. And I'm not very good at doing it by myself at home. It just doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work that way. So I decided, hey, I'm going to sign up for classes. And I signed up in 21 for the first set of classes they opened before after the pandemic. Of course, rowing in a single, there's no chance that you'll get COVID from rowing in a single boat. There's you, the water, and an occasional bird. So I went in and they were full. So the coach, Sherry, told me, well, the classes are full, but we can do private lessons. Like, okay,
Mm.
fine, let's do private lessons. So I think I did like 6 lessons. I was scared sick. I mean,
Really?
even in the big mass, my God, I'm good at swimming and I can float for all the time in the world, but that the water in the lake is not the most health conscious water. So
Right.
just falling in that thing was disgusting and it was very, very scary. But I said, you know what? It's not going to get the better of me. I mean, I'm not going to let my fear limit what I can do. So I persevered and I took private lessons. And then Cherie told me, hey, we're having a team boat class afterwards. It's full already. It's already started. But if you want, just come every day. And there's always someone that doesn't show up. So if someone doesn't show up, we'll put you in a boat. If not, you just ride the lounge with me. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, sure. I was never on the lounge. I was always in a quad. Don't ask me how, but I started doing quads and I started finding my tribe. I found a group of friends that have been rowing in a quad together for nearly 5 years. And we started competing. And, then I discovered DOC because Alex Wells told me, hey, there's a class of sweep rowing instead of sculling. So if you want to come, it's free. They're just wanting you to be exposed. And I signed up and I liked it. So Nan told me, keep coming. And
Okay.
I started going on Sundays to sweep. And the rest of the week I was sculling.
Okay. Wow. So what was it like for you starting rowing at a midlife?
Well, great question. At first, I felt like an idiot, frankly. I thought it was yeah, it's completely different. So I had to learn a new language.
Mm.
Even though I was perfectly fluent in English, rowers speak a different language.
Right,
I
right.
had to get used to getting my balance because we don't think it so much, but you're standing on one foot on a vessel that is, I don't know, maybe a foot and a half wide and it's on water. So if you put your foot wrong, you're swimming.
So you guys didn't use pontoons when you started?
Oh, no. No, no,
Okay.
no, no. You got into the old fashioned mass and you could do one lesson on the erg and then you get on the boat and they send you out.
Okay. Okay. So
But
you
it
said
is
that you were
fun.
sailing because you grew up on the Mediterranean. Did you play any other sport prior, like growing
No,
up?
I used to dance.
Okay.
I used to dance and that's about it. But then life interfered. I went to medical school. I started studying, doing things and residency and everything went by the wayside. Then I had the kids. I had to traps around with the kids everywhere to all sorts of lessons and things. And I think it was about 11 years ago that a friend of mine she's wonderful, she's stubborn, and she doesn't take no for an answer. And for years, she had been trying to be my friend, and I had been stupidly resistant. And finally, once we really clicked, and she physically came to pick me up at my house at 5 in the morning to take me to do personal training on the park with her.
Mm.
And I haven't looked back since then. That's when I started the personal training, the weights, and all that stuff. And then I switched to rowing. And the funny thing is, then I'm talking to my friend one day, and she's like, "Oh, we should start again." I was like, "Sorry, I'm rowing now because the reason we stopped going is the pandemic." So when the pandemic gets out, she's like, "Oh, we should start going to the gym." I was like, "Sorry, I can't. I'm rowing." "You're rowing?" "I've always wanted to row." Drag
Wow.
her to row, and now she's rowing, and she also found her little tribe of recreational,
Nice.
non-competitive rowers. And on Saturdays we go together.
Oh, that is so cool. What club? She's here in Dallas as well?
Yes, she's with DRC.
Okay. Okay, that is so cool. Wow. Well, you know what? You already know that I truly advocate for rowers or anyone for that matter doing strength training. Can you explain the importance of strength training, especially for midlife women, and how it relates to their longevity? If this conversation is hitting differently for you, I want to remind you to join us in the Afterflow, our Elevated Woman Inner Circle on Patreon, where we go even deeper and we're holding space for Black women to have a conversation and connection about things that we're typically made to feel guilty or feel shame about. So join us, click the link in the description. Now let's get back to the episode.
Actually, yes, it is. It's a huge misconception when people tell you, I'm weak because I'm old. No, you're not weak because you're old. You and I know enough old people that are stronger than you and I together, not mentioning Pat. But
Right, that's who I thought about when you said it.
But the thing is, after the age of 40, we develop something called sarcopenia, which is a
Yes.
fancy word for loss of muscle. What happens is everybody, not just women, but women especially because we become menopausal. And by the way, there's a lot of data that regular exercise is a perfect antidote to symptoms of menopause. I don't know if it's because you're so sweaty that you don't really know if you're having a hot flash or if it was that 2K that you rode, but that's another story. The problem with sarcopenia is it leads us to lose also bone mass, and it does not allow us to be strong enough to do things like getting up from the floor, and it makes us more prone to falling. And at the end of the day, people die from falls all the time. There's data that says that your ability to stand in one foot for more than 15 seconds correlates directly with how long you're going to live. Yes.
No, I haven't heard
and
that
we're
one.
not talking
15 seconds?
it's
Wow.
15 seconds. And we're not talking about having to train for the Olympics or do competitive rowing like you and I do. I mean, we do it because it's fun. We do it because we're crazy on a way, to be honest. But you can do, like my friend Karen does, perfectly recreational rowing. And it allows you to do things like getting up from the floor if you slip and fall, or catching yourself before you actually sleep on floor. Or if you have your kid or your grandkid in the pool and they suddenly get a cramp and they need to be pulled out of the water, can you pull a kid out of the water? We're talking functional exercises, not being the next Schwarzenegger or exactly. It's things that allow you to be stronger. Get your suitcases on the top of the plane.
Yeah.
Exactly. That being thing that is smaller every day. Be able to carry your purse with the things you need and not be draggy. I have
activities
several
of daily
friends.
Living.
Exactly. No, I have several friends that do yoga on a regular basis and strength training in a regular basis. I play mahjong with them on Wednesday, and I'm the baby of the group. I mean, I think the youngest after me is nearly 70, and then there's like mid 70 and an 80-something-year-old, and they all go.
You said the baby
religiously.
after you is 7.
Yeah, they're older people, but they're fun. I play mahjong with them. I am way younger than they are.
Oh, you said the baby after you. Oh, okay. I was like, wait a second.
Younger after
okay,
me.
got it.
Yeah,
after you. I was like,
yeah, okay. I know. I messed up their handicap big time there. But anyway, the thing is, they are very religious on what they eat and the fact that they keep active, that they exercise, that they do. There's something called e-gym that they have at the Y, and apparently it's super good for people who have not been trained on how to use weights.
Oh,
But
okay.
nobody needs to actually buy an expensive set of weights from Amazon. I mean, you can do it with your own body weight and a couple of bottles of water that you
Right.
filled in.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not a lot. It's around half an hour, 2 to 3 times a week.
Right. 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 And it doesn't even have to be consecutive. You can do it 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening. Yeah.
Yeah,
So speed
actually,
walking, you said, is your go ahead.
yeah, no, that there was this Olympic swimmer that trained. He participated in the Olympics in her late 40s and actually got a bronze medal. And her training had a breakthrough. I mean, she would train hard one day, rest another day, then train hard. I'm not sure if we're not doing the kids a disservice by training them every day, to be honest.
Well, you know what? They do schedule in and work in rest time because they understand the importance of rest. And that's what I try to emphasize to clients as well. And just people like, you don't have to go hard all the time. Like you said, the point is not trying to become Ernestine Shepherd or Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's just like you said, you could use water bottles, you could use your body weight. But the point is to add resistance to your exercise regimen on a 2 to 3 times a week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you also said in your bio that you speed walk.
Yep.
How does that work? Do you compete in speed walking, and what does
No.
speed walking do that give you that rowing does?
Okay, I started walking with a friend, and it came. I've always walked very fast because in Spain, I mean, you walk everywhere. I mean, 11,000 meters a day is not unheard of. 50 stairs is pretty normal. My mother at 89 can walk a mile and a half and is fine, but I've always walked fast. But it's normal. I mean, ask Katie the day that she tried to walk with me on the ice, and she had to tell me, "Hey, why are you going so fast?" I was like, "No, I'm not going fast. I was actually going slow for you."
Oh,
So
that's fun.
anyway, this friend had breast cancer, and she started exercising after her diagnosis. So we started exercising. At first, we went out with the dogs. We would sit down, have some coffee, and go back. And eventually, we started walking faster and faster and faster. And now, if we really want to, we can do 13-minute miles. If we're going slow, it's a
That's good.
16-minute mile, and nobody wants to walk with us. Even our children don't want to walk with us. They're like, "Mom, I'm not. You're going with Lola? I am not going."
Because you guys walk
Because
so fast?
yes. And I mean, if you want to run, to get ahead of us, you'd better run because, you know,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
we don't compete on anything, but we've gotten trapped a couple of times in the Dallas Marathon or the Katy Trail 5K, mostly
Uh-huh.
because they were going there and we were walking that area, and then suddenly they close everything and you're stuck in there. You can't go anywhere. So we're just go with them
Wow.
until we find a
Okay.
place we can get out. But yeah,
Okay.
now we do about 4 or 5 miles before breakfast on Saturdays, and then another couple of miles after breakfast.
Okay. Oh, after breakfast. That's
You
good.
have to get that breakfast down.
Right, right, right.
Avocado toast doesn't digest itself.
Right. I want to ask you, what would you say that the difference is between the women who you've worked with, women in particular that you've worked with, who have kept their strength and fitness versus the women who don't or haven't when it comes to a cancer diagnosis?
Uh, okay. We actually have a program called Courage, which is a free exercise program for cancer patients. And there's a lot of research that shows that women, or in general, people who have a cancer diagnosis and keep active and exercise. And I don't mean, again, what we think about exercise, which is like get in the gym and sweat for hours or something really. I'm talking about going for a walk half an hour every day,
Mm-hmm.
or getting light weights and exercising a little, or doing some planks. Very, very small exercise improves the fatigue significantly.
Mm.
It also creates a better sense of self. And, for people, for instance, with breast cancer that are taking some pills called hormone blockers, they're called aromatase inhibitors, and they tend to cause a lot of joint achiness. Well, my friend was
Mm-hmm.
taking that, and she never had any issues with that because she was so used to exercise that the aches were basically not that significant anymore.
Okay.
And it also gives you it's sense of accomplishment, a sense of, hey,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have, I strongly believe that you always have a chance to start. I mean, I started 10 years ago. My friend started with her diagnosis. You don't have to have been an athlete in college or in
Right.
high school, or
Right.
you can start any day, the day that you decide, hey, I am my own priority and
Absolutely.
I want to do this for myself. The only problem is, I think we have this perspective that exercise has to be suffering. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
worst thing. I
Right.
mean, you have to find something you love. I mean, if someone told me I
Right.
have to run 15 miles, they'd better put some kind of lion or something after me because I am not running. If you ever see me run, go in the same direction because there's something bad behind me. But I can spend hours, as you know, rowing. I can spend 6 hours walking and not even notice.
Mm.
It's finding what you enjoy. And once you enjoy it, it's not a chore anymore. It's your little piece of freedom and I don't know, self-reflection, perhaps.
Right. Well, it definitely helps with longevity. And I
Hmm.
always talk about like having that lean muscle, and not just with cancer, but just any kind of injury or illness, that when you have that, it actually helps improve the recovery time, you know? And like you said, there are certain exercises, functional exercises that I do with my client that focus on muscles that would decline, if you will, because there's this one particular warm up that I do with my clients, and I was explaining to them that this helps with the muscles in the anterior part of the leg, because a lot of times when older people fall, it's because they trip over their own feet, because their feet, they
Hmm.
don't pick their foot up. And yeah, it wasn't until I went to fitness school that I even understood, because I never understood before. How is it that people die from breaking bones, And it's like, oh, okay, so now I understand. But yeah, there are very simple things, like you said, that you could do to help, combat like the sarcopenia and really increase and improve your longevity. So, yeah. What
Yeah.
would you
The sad
say?
thing is
Go ahead. The sad thing is people.
people tend to think that, well, I'll take these vitamins and this natural stuff and it's going to make me better. The things that make you better are free 99% of the time. Is no, I'm serious, is go to Aldi and get fruits and vegetables. They're good and they're cheap. Go to grab something heavy and start exercising. One of the things I do is I grab the baby. She's 20 pounds now. When I can't go to the gym because I'm babysitting, I'll just grab
Mm-hmm.
her and I'll start up, down. Girl,
Right.
that's heavy.
Right.
And she loves it. I mean, she has a blast, and I'm modeling to her the life, of
Right.
exercise, of doing things.
Movement. Movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does
Hmm.
your recovery time look like? And do you have a certain self-care routine that you have committed to?
You mean after exercise?
After,
Or,
yeah, and just away from work.
well, for
Well, I
years I
guess the
would just get
recovery
in.
would be after exercise, because you were talking about like not exercising every day. I don't know if you go to the power plant, you row. I mean, do you do
I
the
do.
five
I
days or
usually
okay?
go. I'm either I row 6 days a week and I walk. That's my recovery time. I just walk.
Oh,
with my friend 1 day a week. And sometimes I'll have a little bit of yoga. I have an app that I can do, and I just do vinyasas for 10 minutes in between patients. If I'm totally exhausted, I'll just close my door, take my shoes off, and just flow into a couple of vinyasas to stretch and to
okay.
get some personal peace. I have one of my partners, he'll nap 10 minutes during the day. He runs, he does half marathons. So
Okay.
he will take 10 minutes in the middle of the day, close his door, shut down and sleep. I can't do that. I don't do well with 10 minutes of sleep. You don't really want to be around me when I wake up. So I just stretch and I'm a happy little camper.
Hmm.
And then
Okay.
sometimes I just get in the pool and float in the pool doing nothing.
Mm, that's beautiful. Okay. Yes, I always talk about blue and green spaces, and we're always on the water. So, yes, we're experiencing that blue space, and even just like you said, floating in the water. That's amazing. Let me ask you, what do you wish high achieving women understood about her health before she ends up sitting across from a doctor with whatever type of diagnosis?
In general, high achieving women tend to try to control a lot of things and to help others, and they tend to forget themselves. I
Hmm.
think prioritizing ourselves is paramount. I mean, you really have to sit in front of the mirror on a regular basis and practice the word no, which is, by the way, a complete sentence.
A complete sentence. Yes.
Yes. And say, wait, I'm sorry, not right now. I will do it later. I am going to get to that later. I am going to take care of myself first.
How long did
And
it take you to
that
get there?
long,
You said,
probably, I don't know, a good 35 years.
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, at first it's like run, run,
Speaking
run,
from
run, run, run.
experience,
And
of
you're young,
course.
you can do it. But it comes to a
Right.
point in which you're like, hold on, I feel like a piece of butter that is spread over way too much bread. So you're so thin that you can barely be seen. And that's when you start saying, hold on, where am I going? What's important to me? And that's when I kind of said, oops, hold on, I really need to prioritize me. And now I was talking to my mother this morning because I always call her every day on my way to work.
Awesome.
And he was saying, oh, I don't know what these guys are going to think about me. And it's like, Mom, do you really care what because she had told off the workers that were coming to do some stuff. And she was like, hey, you have to call. And when you knock on the door, don't knock, use the buzzer because I can't hear you. And
Hmm.
she's like, they're going to think I'm an ogre. I was like, Mom, do you really care what they think? I mean, they don't pay your bills.
Right. That part.
Yeah. I mean, I think as women, from the beginning, we're conditioned into pleasing people and
Mhm.
being nice. And even as high achieving women, we try to manipulate things into happening more than saying, hey, this needs to be done, because we know that sometimes it's counterproductive. But I think we need to find where our boundaries are and say, sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of time to unlearn that. And I'm hoping
Right.
that this new generation is being taught not to be like that. It's being taught to
Hmm.
have their boundaries first. And I think it is. I mean, talking to my daughter and her husband and my son and his fiance, they are better at saying, hey, this is not for me. This is not the life I want.
Hmm.
I'm not getting into that treadmill.
Right.
I'm
Right.
going to
Right.
live at my own speed.
That's good.
I think that was the most important thing for me. The realizing that I don't have to be everything to everybody, that I can
Mm.
be efficient and do all the things I want to do in a single day, but that if I can't, I am perfectly willing to say, well, sorry, we'll get to that tomorrow. Or in this
Mm.
case, we cannot do the podcast on Sunday because I'm celebrating, so we will do it
Right.
on Tuesday.
That part. That part. You kind of went into a question that I asked. How would you like to pass the torch to the next generation? And I usually ask it after this section, but since you're talking about that, how do you pass the torch to the next
By
generation? What do
example,
you think, as a doctor or just as a person, as a woman of color, what do you think is important to pass to the next generation?
we need to show them, model to them our values. I mean, children in general learn from what we do, not what we say. And if they see you running around ragged and not having time for yourself and eating on the run and not prioritizing your thing, they're going to go one of two ways. They're either going to completely model you and end up with your same problems, or
Mm-hmm.
they're going to go completely against you and think that you're the craziest thing ever and not want to even be close. So to me, just showing to your children that, hey, I am doing this and it's a priority for me. And yes, I'm willing to change things. And yes, I'm going to eat healthy. I think it's way more productive than the old way. I don't know in your case, but when I was growing up, everything was like, you're too fat, you're eating too much. Look at so and so. She's so skinny and so smart and she's so athletic.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, I don't want to be, I mean, I can't do this. I'm a failure. And if I'm a failure,
Mm.
might as well not do it. But I think you don't learn good lessons that way. You just decide that it's not for you and that you just shouldn't do it. I think that if you decide to change yourself, do things for yourself, and your children will learn that. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, when my daughter I've been trying to get my son-in-law to row because he's 6'3", and I think
Oh,
that yes, but they don't like it. So I was like, okay, fine, no problem. But I've seen them go and exercise more and more, and they're like, "Mom, are you gonna go to row in the mornings?" This morning, yes, dear, I'm going to, but I'm available after 8:30. We can do this or that or the other. And the other day, my daughter walks in. It's like, Mom, where are your weights? And to be honest with you, I have no idea what my weights are because right now I'm living with my daughter and her husband and the baby because they're remodeling my condo. So my weights are somewhere in one of the 25 boxes that are in my room right now, piled up against each other. So I was like, sorry, I don't have a clue. And she's like, oh, okay, fine. Next thing I know, there's an Amazon package and she's gotten her own weights and she's doing weights now.
okay.
And I was like, I did not tell her you need to lose the weight after the baby. I never told her, why are you eating
Mm,
this? I never told her anything. She's the one that is eating healthy, cooking, meal prepping, losing her
good.
weight by
Mm,
herself and going with her baby to walk long walks. And apparently she's now uh, lifting weights too.
that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, in terms of being in the medical field and just in general, I know even in rowing, representation matters. It matters in medicine, it matters everywhere. Is there anything that you do or have done to make sure that you are passing the torch to the next generation when it comes to women and possibly women of color in medicine?
Yes, I've mentored a lot of students that want to get into medicine. I work in South Dallas, so I
Mm,
see a lot of children and tell them, hey, you could be one of us. I mean, there's excellent public schools that you can aspire to. For years, I've been a part of there's a committee at UC Southwestern, which is trying or was trying, I'm not entirely sure what's happened to it with the latest political changes, but it used to
mhm.
try to increase the representation in medicine. And they would recruit very promising students and they would have faculty members and community physicians go there and try to convince them to choose UT Southwestern. And actually,
Okay.
a couple of the kids I've seen, the ones that I had seen when they were entering first year, had been there for second and third years. So it's been very rewarding to
Nice.
see them. I
Yeah.
suspect that that committee has gone by the wayside.
Okay.
because this year I didn't get an email saying we're doing it. The match is over already.
Unfortunately, but yes. All right. So I'm going to move into, like I said, I usually just do this one beforehand, but we're talking about uh, your flow state, elevating your flow is the name of the podcast, or elevated flow. When would you say that you are in your flow state?
6 in the morning, sun rising, minimize single or with the girls on the quad, and we're just one person moving at the same time on the same vibe.
I
That
love it.
is
Love
my
it.
happy place. Yeah.
Mm,
That's where nothing matters, but that there's a lot of meditation on it. Uh,
mm-hmm.
People tend to think that meditation is a static pursuit and that you have
Right.
to be sitting and blanking your mind of anything, but
Right.
you can also be moving on a rhythmic way, trying to become one with your environment.
Yeah.
And that's my happy place. That's completely my happy place. I
Awesome.
can do it in a double if I trust the person I'm with. If not, it's either my single or a quad.
How often do you go out on your in your single?
But once a week,
Oh, really? Okay. That's cool.
I have this pesky thing called a job that interferes with my rowing. So
That,
I used to go 6 times a week, but then when
oh,
I started
wow.
sweeping and I started going with the UC, I ended up doing a lot more team boats.
Okay.
So the single was not a priority. For instance, Jacqueline usually takes out her single after we've done the team boats, but she's retired, so she can do that. I just
Right.
can't. I could do it physically. It's just that I don't have the time. Time management. Actually, time management is my superpower. I can do
Hmm.
a lot of things in very little time.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay. But that's not multitasking, right?
No, you can't
Okay.
multitask.
Okay.
I mean, there is multitasking is a fallacy.
Right. Right.
The studies are very, very, very convincing. When you try to do several things at the same time, your attention goes down in your results.
Yeah.
What I do is
Yeah.
sequential tasking. I usually kind of map the things that I want to do and I go one, 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 one. And very often, for instance, if I'm at work and one of my nurses comes in and I'm doing something, I'll just do this. And she's like, okay, I finish what I'm doing. And then, okay, what did you say? Did it? Okay, do this. Fine. But you can't do everything at once. You have
Right.
to
Right.
sequence what you do and be very precise as to your sequencing.
Yes. 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 I love that sequential task.
Yes,
All right. Well, excuse me, Doctor,
please.
Dr. Juarez. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really have enjoyed our conversation and getting to know a little
Thank
bit
you.
more about you. Is there anything else that you would like to share with my audience before we wrap up?
Don't be too hard on yourself. I mean, just
Mm,
start. Do something, even if it's small. And then one day you'll surprise yourself. It's like, wow, what happened here? And keep track of where you were, because then when you're feeling that you're not progressing and that you're not doing anything, you look back and you're like, okay, which is actually what happened to me in this last year at Craftsbury. I was talking to one of my flatmates and telling her, hey, I'm useless. I've been rowing for 5 years. I'm still slow. I don't know why. And she's like, you're doing well. You're improving. Don't worry. So anyway, I ended up checking what my times had been in the prior editions of the head of the Butch.
Hosmer.
And I had
Oh,
shaved my time in the 3,000 by 3 minutes from one year to the
wow.
other.
That's
And I had
huge.
been thinking I was a complete failure. And this was not my
Wow.
recollection. This was their actual numbers from the years before.
That's
I was like,
awesome.
okay, then I'm not as bad as I thought I was.
I love that. Be easy on yourself. That's one of the reasons that I like to take pictures of my client and have them submit pictures because they're looking at themselves every day, all the time, and they don't see a difference. And I'm like, no, if you look back, and then I'll do a side by side, and they're like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize. And the same with strength. They're like, oh, no, I have this one client. Her husband has a weight bench and an Olympic bar. And she's like, I was like, oh, I get excited when I see weights. So I'm like, whose weight bench is that? She's, oh, that's my husband. I'll never use that. And I was thinking in my head, like, one day.
You
And
will.
now it's like she uses it and her husband doesn't, but I'll push them and say, okay, I think you're ready for that. And she's like, really? I don't think I could lift that. And she'll lift it and be like, oh, wow, I didn't realize I was that strong. So yeah, I definitely think that keeping a record of your progress really helps.
Yeah, it was very hilarious when I had always been like fluffy and not very strong and whatever. And then my daughter was moving from her dorm, and I am carrying suitcases, bags, boxes up and down. And my then husband was like, And I was like, I'll come back later and help you. I was like, okay, everything done. And when you're in a plane and there's always some really good person that sees you with your suitcase, can I help you? It's like, oh, thank you so much. Let me try first. Plop, plop, done. Thank you. I'm good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you once again. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And before we leave, is there somewhere where people can follow you online if they want to, see things that you're doing, whether it's enrolling
Actually,
or
believe it or
medicine?
not, we don't have social media. The only thing I have is the LinkedIn profile, but I don't use social media. I don't have time,
That's
to be
fine.
honest.
Right. Yeah, you have a really busy schedule, but you know what? That's fine. They could just watch the Elevated Flo podcast and
Okay,
see
I'll
some of
put
our
you in the
pictures
list.
when we wrote together. Well, thank you again, Marie. I appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you on the water
Thank you for
soon.
having me.
Until
Yes,
next time, everybody,
hopefully
this is
Thursday.
Coach
Okay.
Flo. Right. This is Coach Flo signing off. Remember to find
Thank
your
you.
zone and elevate your flow. Peace.
1, 2.